The recap here is the natural sales flow that you've already gone through. We're posting content in order to pre-sell somebody. Let them come into our ecosystem. We want them to be familiar with what we're doing. That leads to them engaging. They find, the ability to connect with something that we are saying, our persona, what it is that we stand for, personal values, our own brand, etc. And that leads to having conversation. Okay, so you're not spammy, you're connecting and building on that bridge of rapport with this individual. Ultimately, as you identify if they have a gap and a segue, an opportunity for you to identify, hey, does my offer solve that person's problem? If so, I'm going to propose working together, right? And you can either make a direct offer there in Messenger, or you can go ahead and propose having a sales conversation. We want to avoid having free strategy sessions. We want to avoid doing all of the different things that don't work for you, and ultimately build up a community of people who are ambitious just like you, okay? So if a call is going to occur, just as an FYI, keep it in the back of your mind that it's only a formality. We're doing this to reinforce that that person is in fact making the right decision, but when you hop on the phone call, there needs to be some leverage in your favor. That means that that person trusts you. There is some element of rapport. They've connected or engaged with your content already that has done some of the pre-selling, if not all of it, and addressed or handled objections on your behalf. Now, these things are considered your welcome assets. The video that comes right after this one inside the curriculum, I do want to advocate very strongly. You're going to watch that one from start to finish. I cannot stress that enough. If you get one piece or one phase incorrect, then it's not going to work. Things will be a struggle for you before you hit 50 to 80K per month. So your welcome assets, the way that that breaks down is these are content pieces, okay, that are doing the pre-selling material for you or a pre-call video. But it's assumed at this point that you are posting content, you are adhering to the content strategy or something similar, but you're still injecting your own narrative. You are not copy pasting because you have your own voice, you have your own experiences. And that your focus, your priority here is that you're aiming to design everything that you post, everything that you share for those top of funnel and middle of funnel individuals who are coming into your ecosystem. We want to build that trust and make sure that we're handling any concerns that this person may potentially have, and also leading them to the realization, the conclusion that they do in fact have an issue that you're able to solve with your offer. Your offer is the thing that clears up that problem or bridges a gap for them rapidly, okay? So with that in mind, I need to make sure that you're familiar or aware this is unfortunately just something that's going to naturally take time, right? We don't end up meeting somebody and immediately say, I mean, most of us don't anyway, hey, let's get married on the very first interaction or meeting with someone. That would be totally out of context and out of left field. This person wouldn't be expecting it. It would be too fast, right? And so that's the same concept that you want to have or mindset regarding these different phases. Now, all of this is covered in the next video. That video is inside of the curriculum, and there's also a variation or a version of that provided on YouTube, and there's also a variation provided directly inside of the Facebook community that we are, cultivating and building up together to make sure that even those who are not yet ready to work with our team at Experts and Legends in a more intimate or one-to-one capacity, that you still have some insight on what those phases look like from pre-phase, when you're utilizing one main social media profile for distribution of these content assets, and then moving from there again through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and you can pull all the different levers necessary in order to create a maximized focus on lifetime value of your clientele, and also be able to charge 10K, 15, 25K, whatever it is that your offer is going to ultimately be for the duration of time that's necessary. Okay. So again, I just want to kind of reiterate that even though this video is designed specifically for clients, I know there is a possibility that some other individuals may potentially watch this video. And if so, I just want to advocate that you would take a look at my own welcome assets to be helpful to you. Okay. So this is assuming high level overview that the foundations are going to be dialed in. Your offer, you're charging somewhere between 1 to 10K, meaning that you have at least, if you're charging 1K, you've gained at least one client and they've paid you 1K. If you charge 10K, you've gained at least one client and they've paid you 10K. Okay, that's kind of the concept here. And your focus is going to definitely be the relationship and the results for that individual. We need to make sure that that happens as quickly as possible. I stress this also inside of the portion of the curriculum that is very streamlined and clear cut regarding delivery and making sure that your coaching and your methodology for your strategy with actual paying clients is just straight to the point. You're not giving them any fluff because they are paying you for getting them from A to B. Okay. Now, what that means is I need to ensure you're also familiar that you're not going to use any guarantees or risk reversal unless you lack confidence in your ability to guarantee or get your clients, because you've qualified them, you've talked to them, etc. You already know, hey, this person is a good fit for me. They're a tier 1 or a tier 2. We're trying to avoid those tier 3, tier 4 individuals. Now that's covered obviously a little bit earlier inside of the sales portion of this module, but ultimately, that's what we're looking for, right? You need to have certainty, conviction, and confidence inside of your offer. And if you don't, then this is where guarantees and a risk reversal may be beneficial to you. But what I normally advocate for all of our clients is that as time goes on, you're going to just cut those out completely. Okay. Now we do provide them because there are individuals who we serve that are there's an overlap to the B2C market, and part of the B2C market, business to consumer market, we're teaching individuals to become a life coach, become a health or a fitness coach, become a nutrition coach, right? Become a natural or holistic healer, those type of things. These individuals, or maybe even a business coach perhaps, these individuals who are just barely kind of dipping their toe in the water because of the fact that they have a lot of perceived risk around investing into themselves, and they've essentially been brainwashed by the majority of society, commonly known as the Matrix. Anyway, these are the folks who we do provide guarantees for and a risk reversal, but majority of the time, that's not provided to individuals who we give a one-to-one or more kind of like prioritized delivery and support structure to, and the plug and play systems and assets and training for their team members. We really don't incorporate those things because once you start charging somebody above $8,000 to $12,000, this individual, it is understood they've invested in themselves before. More than likely, they have a mindset of growth. Their priority isn't immediately I'm going to invest 10K, I'm going to make 10K plus back. Instead, it's how I'm going to get my time back and replace me, in addition to making an ROI that most likely is, financial or numbers based. Okay. So it's just, you have to understand where your avatar and your market is at, but it's also heavily dependent on where you are at. So again, this is covered a little bit earlier inside of the module for sales, but you do need to be committed and consistently posting. Okay. Now, whatever that consistency looks like for you, you just need to stick to it. Right? We talk about this inside of the 7-figure group formula component of the curriculum. That's really straightforward and streamlined. It's essentially aimed to help you build up your phase 2 and phase 3, but you have whatever you commit to. I'm going to post Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to post Mondays and Saturdays only because, I can only work like 6 hours a week or whatever. You just have to acknowledge and hold that commitment to yourself. Block it off in your calendar. We've got that training also inside of the curriculum. So there's no excuse for you to not be able to manage your time and leverage that ultimately. Here's what that looks like, okay? Bird's eye view again, because this is covered in excruciating detail inside of that 40-minute training that I was just mentioning a little bit earlier regarding the different phases. But here we are posting content, okay? The content serves with primarily a focus on building awareness, top of funnel priority. It's the know, like, and trust factor. We're pre-selling this individual and indoctrinating them in order to make sure that they continue to consume our content, our material, right? These are the welcome assets that we are giving to this person to welcome them into our world. And then from there, we are sending out a message. Ultimately, it'll probably be you at first or a VA. So you'll have an extremely lean team. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if maybe you don't have the ability to afford a VA right now and it's you and maybe a family member or something. Okay, then we just accept it for what it is. But situation here, priority, you still have to outreach and have a conversation with that person. You must, in fact, interact with them. Okay, so from there, interacting, you've got one of two paths you can follow. path A, let's go ahead and propose a phone call, which is, basically the status quo and the industry norm. I'm not a big fan of the proposing a phone call. I just get straight to the point, make sure, following the Claire method, I ensure, do I know your current situation? Do I know your gap or the problem that you're facing? And ultimately, what's your goal once you get past that? And if I'm able to solve it, which most of the time I can, in some form or another, because we have multiple courses, we have a lot of variations of info products, I'm able to send over an offer document or a Loom video or a YouTube video, and it's really not a big deal, okay? I just continue to repurpose that same information, and I've removed the analytics, the ability for this person, unless it's a YouTube video, I can't skip that, but I remove the ability for this person, if it's a Loom video, to see the analytics, so they can't tell how many other 20 to 100 people have watched that same variation or version of that video that's presenting an offer, right? That ultimately becomes my demo. So there's two qualifiers though. Before you send this offer document, this person needs to have a sense of urgency. They do want to fix it right away. They communicate that to you. They're like, yeah, I'm tired of being broke. I'm tired of this. I'm struggling with XYZ. I hired this person and then this thing happened. And you want to optimize and capitalize on the fact in that moment, this person is in such a low emotional state that you need to acknowledge, build empathy and rapport, ask an open-ended question. Again, this is all covered inside the Claire module, but you end up, or Convos to Cash, but with the Claire method, okay? But you take that low emotional state, you're building rapport, ask that open-ended question, you create that doorway for yourself, you go right through it, and then you get permission. That person gives you permission because they're right there, they're online, they're active, and then you're going to be proactive. You're going to be responsive. Okay. And then you go ahead and send over that demo or that Loom video or that offer document, whatever it is that you have it framed as. Okay. But it's your VIP invitation or consultation offer for this person to recognize, here's how I'm going to solve your unique problem. Here's what the roadmap ultimately looks like from week 1 through 4, week 1 through 12, whatever the timeline is. Okay. Now, in that document, that person is going to comprehend, and it has to be communicated very clearly, what is in it for them, right? So in that offer document, that person ends up acknowledging, giving you their verbal agreement. You go ahead and send over the either Stripe link or PayPal link or, your authorize.net or your Gazelle, or I think it's Zelle, payment link, whatever the method is, okay? It's irrelevant, really. You just need to focus on securing the bag, hence the little emoji here of the cash, bag with cash in it. Now, if, let's say, that person, you send the offer document and they're like, I don't know, whatever, they're on the fence, then you still need to optimize that opportunity to address any issues. You let them know in a very detached format. We can absolutely hop on a phone call for like 5-15 minutes. Not a problem. In case you have additional questions, or I can kind of walk you through what that looks like. And you can either use a Miro board, you can use Figma, you can doodle inside in the whiteboard inside of Zoom. Like, that part's going to be up to you. But you're just explaining your vehicle, your methodology, especially for these a little bit more sophisticated buyers. You do need to disclose ultimately what is the structure of the flow of your vehicle, okay? Because more sophisticated buyers, meaning the people who have invested in themselves before and they've spent well over, 5 to 50K on themselves in order to grow their business, grow themselves, their health, etc. And you're going to solve this issue. It's unlikely that you have something brand new in their eyes, right? It's unlikely that you are able to share something with them that they've never heard of before. But And while that might be true, you do want to still encourage or reframe whatever it is that is your methodology. You want to reframe it as something that's a little bit more fresh and unique, because this person is still in pain from all the other things that they invested into. And if they sense or smell that your program is anything remotely like or the same as this other stuff that clearly didn't work, they're not going to waste their time or their money or their energy in that direction, right? They have to have hope of some kind. to go from that low emotional state in the direction of actually solving the problem. Now, let's say, okay, so you have the phone call or you make the offer. And again, I'm going to cover the offer documents in just a second. And I'm going to give you some examples that are really out there in the wild of what this looks like, okay? But I want you to have it inside of your mind, understanding the fundamentals here, that once you collect the cash, your job is not done, okay? Because you need to still be able to get to phase 2, phase 3, and so forth, right? And grow ultimately, so that this program or this business model isn't solely dependent on you wearing 50 different hats and burning out, right? We don't want that. So anyway, once you collect the cash flow, now we need to prioritize building up this community, right? This priority on this individual being part of something bigger than themselves. And what we are selling is in fact not coaching. It is not nutrition. It is not a focus on, hey, let's give you a game plan on how you can, meet more women. So health, wealth, relationships. We're not selling that. Okay. What we are selling is this. You are selling a sense of acceptance, a sense of belonging. You're selling confidence. That's the thing that you must, in fact, have, your own sense of certainty or conviction in, because if you don't, this whole thing will fuck up. Okay. So anyway, you're selling the priority on community, right? This is the thing in the back end that somebody will consider themselves a part of, they're looped into. And as we move from community, guess what's going to happen? We continue flowing in this cycle. Why do we continue flowing this cycle? This is meant to, I know you can't see it very well, but this is meant to represent like a little DM in the event that you're going strictly from content to, or welcome assets directly to a phone call. Just wanted to clarify that. But you're not done, right? Because the lifetime value of this individual who is currently working with you, you get them results, they have that conviction, that certainty. Oh, wow, this stuff works. Okay, awesome. Let's move from there in the direction of we want to keep working together. So now your priority becomes also for those middle of funnel and bottom of funnel people. You must be sharing case studies, examples, interviews, client success overviews, things like that, whatever you want to frame it as, where it reinforces and continues to indoctrinate this individual so that whether it's you or somebody from your team, there is a constant loop here in order to maximize the lifetime value of these people that are working with you. They're in your world, they enjoy working with you, and they want to keep working with you, right? For months and months and months and years to come. So now I'm going to cover the offer invitation and offer documents and how you can go ahead and do this too. I'm going to encourage, though, one more time that you just remember, please don't copy paste any of this shit, because it's not going to work for you if everybody's copy pasting the same thing. I just want to show you some examples in a second, and also I'm going to show you mine. Okay. But you've got to understand each phase. So please still pay attention. Go watch that 0 to 100K asset funnel. And you need to have a priority on the focus of other people being important, not just you being selfish and it just being about you. This is about community. Okay. Again, otherwise everything breaks. So in pre-phase 1 to phase 1, where you have the goal of, okay, I'm charging 1K, I'm charging $500. Like ultimately you do want to eventually charge high ticket. And here's why. You charging high ticket makes your ability to grow your business faster a lot easier on you, right? You have money to invest into your business, to hire more people, to invest into systems and software, and eventually fire yourself from all the shit you don't like to do, okay? Excuse me. Now, you're using your social media profile in the very beginning, which is totally fine with wherever that is, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it doesn't really matter. Your priority though in this time frame is to make other people get to know you, right? This right here is the brand. You are the brand. You are at first the product. So you have to have confidence in who you are. You need to look yourself in the mirror and say, who am I today? What am I doing? And who's got my money? Okay. And you're not saying this in a selfish way. You're saying this in, a very targeted, very intentional format, because ultimately you need people to be able to pay you so that you can serve them, and you're teaching them the value of themselves, but it also becomes a mirror for you because you have value, you have worth. And in order for this to work, so you don't have to work nonstop, you don't have to be spammy, you don't have to do all the stuff that you don't like, you have to take this serious, and you have to treat yourself confidently, taking yourself serious. right? That you're important and people should pay attention to what it is that you are doing and how you solve things. Now, if you're doing organic, at first, your focus, I break this down in another video with more detail, but I just want to say in general, if you're doing organic, just think about it like this. 20% of your content is selling, making the offer, direct CTAs, join my group, yada, yada. And then 80%, 80% is where you're focused on top of funnel. Okay. So this is where you're talking about relatability. This is where you're talking about your values. This is where you're talking about your beliefs. This is where you're killing the concepts or going against the grain of the status quo. You're saying everybody in the industry is doing it this way. I do it this way. Everybody tells you to do it this way. I disagree. Here's why. Okay. That's basically what you're looking for. Now, you do need to have one main welcome asset. That could be, if you're doing paid, that could be a VSL, it could be a little mini webinar, it could be a little masterclass. But if you're doing organic, you could have this video hosted on YouTube and it could be a case study. Okay. Or you can use that case study or multiple variations of case studies and you can chop them up. This is the version that I've done personally. So I found that has worked best for me. I've done little like reels, tiny shorts, and they're just clipped videos ultimately highlighting these clients who have had a really good quality experience with me. And then I just re-emphasize that and break it down with text inside of my stories on Instagram and Facebook. So you just got to figure out what the methodology is that works for you with this one main welcome asset. This is something obviously that we work, very like excruciating detail with clients specifically especially when they're doing paid strategies. But I just want to say one main welcome asset is definitely sufficient. You could do two, but just don't do overkill, right? The thing is you want to be able to repurpose this and it becomes evergreen. So then it's to your benefit. It continues to work for you, not the opposite, right? And so this is why YouTube can be beneficial in this sense with long form video. So your goal here with that welcome asset is to establish trust, right? Now, if you're doing paid strategies in addition to organic strategies, and let's say you're at the start of your journey with both formats, just know that it requires some testing time. Okay. If you don't have an email list, if you don't have an audience, you don't have leverage, which we cover how to do some of these things inside of the advanced email strategy section of the curriculum that's inside the bonus. But you just need to have the mindset, I'm detached, right? I'm looking to help whoever is actually going to be interested in the help and they're ready to get help, right? You can't help every single person or say you're going to help everybody because then you're going to help nobody. You just need to focus on, okay, here's my budget for this. Here's my time frame budget for this. And that's it. And then you stick to it, okay? And this is another reason why building out your team and leveraging human assets also will be beneficial to you because it allows you to have not so much close proximity where you're emotionally connected to the outcome and you get all upset if things don't work out right away, or your cost per acquisition or the cost per lead, it's a little bit high in the very beginning. It just requires some fine tuning and refinement. Okay. So obviously if this is something you're a coaching client and this is something that's upsetting to you, then you could just outreach to me on Slack and we'll support you through that. But we're focused on one main welcome asset. So it does a majority of the heavy lifting for you as people are coming to your ecosystem and they continue to consume that shorter form content, okay? And then your emails because you're building up this email list, etc. So it's recommended that you are going to leverage these paid strategies, which we cover in the 100K Fast Track training, but you want to do that starting once you have at least one or two clients, okay? Now, if you don't have the funds right this second, if you have the funds, awesome, get started. And then you can still take a look at that training. Now, if you or a team member have sent messages, have not yet sent messages to everybody who is engaged, that's going to be your next priority here in this time frame of pre-phase 1 to phase 1, okay? Because you're leveraging that one main profile or on that platform for you to be able to interact with everybody who comes into your ecosystem. And so there needs to be some variations of these personalized DMs and open-ended questions. Now, we cover this obviously in the SOP section, but you don't want really to copy paste because you don't want to copy paste one thing for everybody because any bot-like activity does tend to get kind of discouraged on the majority of these platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and so forth. But secondly, you just need to make sure that you come across as human, right? Like we're in an age where there's AI and all of these different automations, and people are just wanting to feel seen and heard and feel like they matter. So any form of personalization, even if it's just a couple openers that you switch up a little bit and just do some testing, and then you've got like 2 to 5 variations, that's completely fine. But you do want to leverage open-ended questions as well, okay, and connect and build rapport based on what's going on inside of this person's account or profile or stories. You can check out the Cool Hand Luke training for more information on some examples of what you could send out. Now, usually in the very beginning, it's just you. Okay. Or it might be you and one family member or something like that. But what that really means deep down, you need to be aware right this second. If that's you, that means that you're actually limited, or you have a ceiling on your capacity, right? Your energy, your time, and everything like that, because it's just you. You're doing everything, which means you're not going to do one main thing well because you're doing everything. That is the opposite of what you want. Now, too many follow-ups are going to cause you to lose leverage, especially if you're trying to do any kind of cold outreach initially, or cold emails, or you have people coming into your group and then they ghost you immediately, or they come in and they opt into your stuff and then it takes you like a day to follow up and then they fall off and you're following up way too many times. You're going to lose leverage. That's very like low energy, low status. And this is a turnoff usually for good quality leads. So you just need to stick with following up a maximum of 1 to 3 times. And keep in mind that your email list is in fact your secret weapon, okay? So you want to continue to build this as early as possible. Just check out the advanced email strategies section for some information on how to do that. So again, this is the overview. This is covered in excruciating detail in the 0 to 100K training on the different phases. But you've got these welcome assets, these things that get somebody into your world, into your ecosystem, and then you see, oh, they commented, they engaged, they liked it, they joined the live session, etc. I send them a conversation, or my team member does. Eventually, this is something that does need to be outsourced, absolutely, because you need to be able to get your time back so you can focus on working on the business. We have systems in order for you to be able to track. You've got that asset that you're going to continue to be able to leverage, right? And now we also want to consider injecting either automations or some sort of ability to delegate additional things for tracking. And then you're either making an offer directly by DM, or, so this is like the little dotted line here with that offer document that I'm going to show you some examples of, or you're proposing to get on a phone call, but it needs to be very obvious to the person who's getting on that phone call from the moment you have the conversation or your team member has the conversation, and then the assets that this person is exposed to after the call gets booked, which we have that inside of the curriculum. You could totally steal it. And also, I've given it away on YouTube before, I believe, as well. So anyway, the whole thing here is this person has to be pre-sold. There must be trust, right? And then that's when you're able to collect the cash flow, okay? Now, the only thing missing from this entire flow here, but it's just for the sake of brevity, is the community component, but I've already covered that. And then as these people who, come into your world, you just want to continue making sure that they're being indoctrinated and you're retargeting them, right? We're pushing traffic to post into the group, and we're also sharing our links across these different social media platforms. Okay, so let me move on here. This is again covered inside of the 0 to 100K training. So that's this bonus training that I was talking about here inside this link. Now, these are the offer documents. Now, there's no wrong way to do this unless you just skip it altogether, which I think would be, I would say, I can't give you a specific amount of money that you would be missing out on, but I can say with absolute certainty that some of, if not a good portion, of clients that we have worked with have been extremely introverted. They're not like, it's not that they lack self-esteem or lack confidence in their offer or something like that, but they're just not really a big talker, or they're not really a great conversationalist, but they're great at typing, they're great at texting or something like that, or they're great at copywriting. And so these individuals who are a little bit more behind the scenes, introverted, maybe they have a little bit more of a mechanic brain where they're focused on systems and operations, stuff like that. And that's the whole priority that they have on the utility of their program. This is where making an offer by messenger and having that offer document typed out can be completely helpful. Or having a Google Doc and then you've recorded yourself like I'm doing right now. This is very meta, where I'm talking over a Google Doc, right, via Loom. Okay, so the thing about these types of offers, you can see here's an example, and it's super short, right? This person is giving an offer or a proposal. Let's go ahead and work together one-on-one. And here is exactly what his method is called. And he says, would you like to work with me? Now, the thing about this is, making offers without having a sales call is not all that uncommon, right? Everybody's short on time, they're short on giving attention, stuff like that. So at this point, this is a method that can work, but you just need to have your brand established and or a hefty email list in order to get a decent type of reply rate on these, okay? And before you send something like that, you would have needed to have shared case studies or your personal journey or narrative or some value content, value bombs, stuff like that, in order to focus on making sure that whoever's reading the emails and opening them they have a higher propensity of actually responding to you and engaging with, yes, I need your service or your help. Here's another version. This right here, it's like a lot of text to read. The only thing I would recommend is because this is a format that I ended up learning from my mentor, the only thing, and it's like very copy paste. The only thing I would advocate for you specifically, if you're going to do a version like this, either by email or in a Google Doc or something along those lines, number one, you need to make sure that this part's congruent. Like, this guy does in fact have a pretty large community, but if you're just starting out, then you need to make sure you don't lie and say you have only like 10 spots left and 9 people are already in them or something. Like, don't create fake urgency is what I'm getting at here. What you do need to prioritize is your credibility. And then so this right here is a little bit counterintuitive, so don't make this mistake, okay? Where you say, I'm packaging it into a one-on-one coaching offer that's hands-on, and then he ends up saying the reverse. This isn't a course or coaching program. There will be no new fancy trainings. Like, that part doesn't really make sense. So just make sure whatever you type out, that it makes sense. If you're not sure or you want some a secondary opinion, obviously send me the Google Doc inside of Slack. I'll check it out. It's not a problem. Now, this is an example that works for our coaching business, but you do need to write your own, and you may need to update it as you go, okay? So don't get stuck on this whole like, oh, it's not perfect, I'm not sure what to label things, etc. You do need to base it on client feedback, what their results look like, and also what suits your time and energy. And pro tip here, this is a document that you could potentially, if you're going to inject case studies or screenshots or something like that, or maybe video clips along the way, and then you just piece that together inside of a Loom video, that can become your long form welcome asset piece of content that you put on YouTube as well, okay, where it's like a hybrid version of what I'm showing you here. So that's just something that also has worked for me that we've done on YouTube. We've just left the video unlisted. Now, write this with your best fit client in mind, tier 1 or tier 2. If you're not sure what that means or you need a refresh on that, please check out the Psychology of Paying Customers training inside the curriculum. But here's an example of the flagship hybrid coaching offer that we are using. So this is where our focus is one-on-one as needed with group coaching, okay? And so I go into qualifying this individual. I call attention to ultimately what they're looking to, solve and get out of it. Then I end up qualifying my credibility. You notice I got a lot of images here. That's not very, that's not super common. So that's a little bit of a pattern interrupt. But also it demonstrates like my commitment, right? My commitment and the individuals that I've worked with and that I've learned from, along with the people that I have coached. Now I'm not going to show you the entire offer document right this second, because I want to show you one more example and then I can scroll through that. But nonetheless, you just need to have leverage for yourself of what is your authority, what's the breakdown of the overview, like the things you've accomplished along the way, etc. Now, I also have a one-on-one consulting with placement offer, right? These are they complement each other. They are not the exact same thing. The one main difference is this is meant for somebody who's more top of funnel to middle of funnel. And alternatively, if this person were to say like, oh, I'd rather hop on a call or I'd rather feel your vibe out, etc. The good news is I do have in the book a call funnel that you're able to steal, obviously, from our curriculum and also from YouTube, is that the way I have it broken down, the demo or the overview video that's like the homework or the training that this person sees right after they schedule the phone call, it covers the exact same thing. right? So I'm covering from all angles, but this one-on-one consulting with placement offer is designed. Here's part of it. I'm not showing you the entire thing, and that's on purpose because I don't want people to copy paste. You're not going to be able to like match my narrative, my expertise, my background, the business that I worked for previously. So you just need to emphasize the things you can accomplish for your own clients, or the things you can or will in fact prioritize or focus on. Okay. Now this is an example. Let me just pull that up briefly. This is an example of what mine looks like. Okay. So I bring attention to the outcome. I say what they hate. I qualify credibility building. Here's some information. Again, credibility building. I make sure that these things are like, oops, let me just zoom in here. I make sure, I don't know why I did that. Does it let me zoom in? Okay, here we go. I make sure to name drop essentially, right? I'm not a big fan of doing that personally, but I mean, in this case, it might be necessary for somebody who's top of funnel to middle of funnel because they're just coming into my world. At this point, this is probably more like 820, but nonetheless, I just keep it here. I think it looks fine. And then I demonstrate all these names and like their results, right? These are people who are really well known in their industries. This guy's a niche coach, and he also, I think if I'm not mistaken, does like shout outs and setters. And this person is a dating coach. This person is an Airbnb coach. This guy is a real estate investment coach, and we worked on his offer. This guy, he's doing, I think, what is it? He had one setter and they were doing like over 140K, stuff like that. Let's see here. And then I cover the assets, and this basically just coincides or aligns with ultimately what it is that I do, right? And then I qualify and disqualify here. So the thing that you need to be aware of is, and then I talk about the pricing structure. Okay. So anyway, the thing that you need to be aware of in regard to this whole breakdown in order for this to work for you is, number one, you care about the people that you're going to be working with. Number two, you've built up trust and credibility. And number three, you're being consistent. Like you have to be making offers every single day, regardless of your mentality. And, your mindset affects everything, obviously, but regardless of the methodology is what I'm getting at. So whether you're leading to book a call and that's all, the thing you pray about, and morning, noon, and night, that's the only thing that you preach and you believe in, fine. But you need to be making offers every single day. Or if you can't, because you're stretched too thin, you need to have a growth specialist or an appointment setter, somebody operating on your behalf in order to be that asset that's going to help you build leverage and move on and get your time back. Now, take a look at the bonus training, and I'll see you in the next one.